This week, Helen Oakley from SAP is with us to discuss building AI bombs along with Mr. Larry Pesce.
Yay.
In the security news, I want all the firmware. It's not just TP-Link, CVEs for malware, Bluetooth Low Energy in your health, faking your own death, serial ports, stealthy Linux malware. Call this number. Finding all the WordPress plugin vulnerabilities, all that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network. It's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly.
SOC analysts are often overworked and underappreciated. In fact, many consider leaving their jobs or changing careers altogether. Devo is hosting the 4th annual SOC Analyst Appreciation Day to give analysts long overdue kudos and encourage organizations to improve their job satisfaction and mental well-being. Join Devo and other cybersecurity industry professionals on October 16th for sessions and panels focused on de-stressing, SOC career development, and more. Visit securityweekly.com/Devo to register. Quick question, do your end users always, and I mean always, without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. Check it out at securityweekly.com/1Password. Coming to you from Purgatory Studios in semi-high definition, compliments of Darth Vader himself, this is Paul's Security Weekly, episode number 841, being recorded on Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Mr. Larry Pesce is here in studio with me.
I am.
Very welcome.
Back from a week of travel to go on a week of, my travel schedule for the remainder of the year is nuts.
Traveling full.
It's nuts.
Yes, it's good to have you here in studio, though.
It's good to be back.
Mr. Josh Marpet is here with us. Josh, welcome.
Well, thank you. Always good to be here.
Mr. Bill Swearingen is here with us.
Hey, Larry, how's it going, man? Oh, hey, Paul.
Hey, Bill.
Did you rehearse that?
Nope.
He rehearsed it in his mind
Off the
about
cuff.
300 times.
The pipe-smoking Mr. Jeff Mann is here with us. Jeff, welcome.
Yes, shout out to my friend Zach, who I met, I think, at B-Sides Harrisburg earlier in the year. I sent him some stickers, and he sent me a handmade pipe that I got today.
That's awesome.
So I thought I'd check it out tonight.
Nice.
So I
look studious?
You do.
Collegiate?
Very distinguished. Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
your T-shirt doesn't have those felt patches on the elbows.
Right.
I've been trying to figure out these T-shirts, and I finally figured out it's for all those people that don't know how to do selfies and reverse the image.
You need a smoking jacket. You need a smoking jacket.
I do need a smoking jacket.
It would take as much time as Bill would take trying to find a new laptop. A lot of options. I titled this segment Building AI Bombs as like a funny play on words. We don't have to stick with that. But we are talking about building AI bombs, as in bill of materials. Helen Oakley, Director of Secure Software, Supply Chain, and Secure Development from SAP, is here with us. Helen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's fun to see all different those T-shirts. I also have a T-shirt, NASA, today.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Houston, we got a problem.
You have a fancy jacket, though. I like the jacket and the T-shirt.
I want to see the elbows. I want to see the elbows. I
Yeah,
bet
do they have the patch?
Oh, so close. Yeah.
They rolled up, so even better.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yep. And Helen, we talked earlier today, and this is not the same. No, that was yesterday. Never mind. I was going to say it's not the same T-shirt. I would hope not, because that was yesterday. Because that would be gross otherwise.
We do change our T-shirts once a day.
Yeah, I know. But no, because the irony is Helen turned me on to HeyGen, and I came to the studio today early to record some video for HeyGen, and you were right. Yeah, absolutely talk nonsense. And yeah, I think I talked about Paul picking his nose.
Yeah.
And yep. And all
Larry's
sorts
going
of
to have
fun
his
stuff.
own video avatar. It's great.
Imagine if all that nonsense leaks one day.
Right?
Oh, man.
It'd be pretty hilarious.
That would be hilarious. Yeah, that would be good.
So, Helen, how did you come to get interested in the topic of AIs in bill of materials?
A while back, as my interest and passion in software supply chain security, AI is just one of the technologies that we have that also applies to the same principles. So this is where we have AI software supply chain security practices, and AI BOM is just another practice as an extension to an SBOM, software bill of material.
Yeah, so I guess we wanted to start and talk about the landscape. When we say like artificial intelligence bill of materials, what does that mean? What are we trying to build the bill of materials for? What's the landscape look like?
So that's an excellent question because I find that different entities and even regulations may describe as slightly different. In overall, I find that AI system consolidates many different components as a whole. So we don't just take one model, right? We have a whole ecosystem of AI relevant software and different types of AI, like traditional intelligent software for like rule-based AI, but also we have different types of model and underlying architecture for model. So when we're talking about bill of material, if you think about fundamental principles of software bill of material, we want to collect the ingredients of the software. AI is an extension of that. Just because AI technology is somewhat different, it has very different like operational methods, and there are a lot of changes that's happening throughout. While traditional software can have static snapshots, AIs keep changing, and that's what makes very interesting and different about AI bomb, because now we're not only collecting static data about the software, about AI, but we're also trying to collect things as part of the process of AI. For example, how is it being trained, right? Or how is it being changed down the life cycle of the AI software? And on top of that, things like energy consumptions, right? It's a hot topic right now.
For sure. So are we talking about LLMs, or this obviously applies to other forms of AI models and software, right?
All forms of models, yes. LLM is just one of the types of models, and definitely we looking at all machine learning, large or non-LLMs that being trained as an AI.
Yeah, I think that the LLM is interesting to hone in on that for a moment. Because actually today I was asking Chat GPT to basically do some research for me, right? Had to come up to speed on the technology. And
He's lazy.
I am.
No,
And
he's smart.
I didn't say that. I don't think those are exclusive, but anyway.
so I asked it to describe a technology, and it came back with this beautiful description. And I'm like, that's great. I'm like, I don't trust you. I'm like, can I have like some links to external resources about this technology? And it provided me a list, and almost every single one of those links were broken. And then I was like,
Whoa.
but so where did you get the data to populate, this prompt? And it was like, I can't tell you that. Like, this is just the data that I have, and there it is. That's basically what it said to me. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do my own research.
It's a
before
journal.
I write anything about this technology.
It's a journalist. It can't reveal its sources.
Right. But that's the kind of thing I would want to see in a bill of materials, even for individual prompts, is where are you getting
No.
your sources from?
That's transparency, not a bomb.
Well,
Sorry.
actually, BOM would enable transparency, right? So you want to
Yes.
collect all kind of data as part of bill of materials or else to create that kind of transparency. And actually, it's interesting that you brought it up, Paul, because I've noticed that too. Yeah, and actually, I started to engineer my prompts in a way to avoid those, like back and forth. Oh no, go and check and so on. So kind of figured what it can do and what it can actually research, and don't rely, of course, too much on it, but check. And I've seen broken links, and I'm like, hey, you gave me a broken link. Can you give me a normal link? And then it goes and fixes the link. So, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, at that
But
point, I was kind of done. I was like, I can find I don't need your help finding non-broken links anymore. I'm done. I'm going to Google.
So, Helen, you actually raised an interesting point. Are you saying that the AI bomb, forgive me, actually contains the data, the training data, as well as the data that it uses to answer questions, the full components of the RAG, or
it doesn't contain the training data, but it has
okay.
information about the training data. Yeah, and it has information about other sources. And interestingly, there is already research that is happening, and there are discussions to including even information about prompts. Yeah, because we have system prompts, we have user prompts, and exactly to your point, you want to trace how this process is being done, so that we want to understand what kind of decision has been made by the machine when we provide a certain task,
Right.
and how it came up to that task.
Absolutely agreed. And
What
that's an
would,
important piece. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
sorry, Josh, I was stepping on you. What
No.
would that training, like, so information on training data look like? Would it be something like, well, I've used the internet, or, would it, so what does information on training data kind of mean?
So you want to understand where the data coming from, if it has been secured, it has been classified, right? Does it include any sensitive data? Because there could be, for example, vulnerabilities or weaknesses in LLM, and maybe it was trained on the sensitive data, for example, from emails, right? And then for the prediction, and then as a result, you can prompt that LLM in a way that it will actually expose that sensitive data. So you want to know exactly to make sure that you check all the possible risks and mitigate those risks throughout the development about this LLM. But the data sets, there are different types, different volumes, and also there's could be synthetic data set, right? And synthetic generated by different, let's say, machine, but also by other models. So you want to understand the inheritance and the dependency path where your data is coming from.
So should an AI bomb include the provenance of the data and the conditions under which the data was
Absolutely.
collected?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
valid.
And I think Helen's in an amazing spot for this, and Josh is great asking questions, because Helen, at SBOM-A-Rama coming up next month, you're leading a workshop on AI
2
bombs.
weeks.
Wait,
in
there's
2
a
weeks.
conference called SBOM-A-Rama?
Yep, sponsored by CISA.
Yeah.
Great name.
Where?
Yep,
Great name.
In Denver.
Mm.
Damn it.
yep. The 11th and 12th, and so Helen's leading this workshop for talking about what should the evolution of AI bombs look like. Am I correct in that?
That's correct. Yeah, so it's actually interesting, and thank you for bringing this up. And this is how Larry and I we actually decided, like at RSA AI Bomb Workshop, was like, let's have a talk. We have so much to share. You have your evil bombs talk. I have my AI bomb. So let's just put it together. I'm pretty sure it will be awesome. But back to that. So I am participating in forums for SPDX SBOM format, where they develop and evolve AI relevant fields. And as an idea, I thought, this is something that we need as a community to align on. How actually we're going to use this AI bomb later on, because we're coming from bottom up, we're developing fields and we're deciding what metadata should be collected. And it's okay to collect as much as you can in the beginning, but later on you need to understand how this data is going to be consumed and how analytics are of that data going to help us to define and identify risks and react on those risks. And in a parallel, SPDX also has AI relevant field that they're implementing in that format. So the idea of the first AI bomb workshop at RSA was to get the community together and think through the use cases and next steps what we want to do. So the decision from that was to launch this so-called Tiger team under CISA, AI bomb Tiger team. And ChatGPT generated for me amazing psychedelic tiger. If you maybe seen on LinkedIn. By the way, it has this tend to do so, yeah, like this kind of images. Not sure what I've been trained on, by the way.
That would be great if we had an AI bomb for that.
Yeah, LSD, like it was trained on
Yes.
LSD. Yeah.
But during that workshop, we have identified that we want to focus on the use cases. So what we're doing in this month, throughout the since June, and we keep going, like we don't have really like a timeline, but we are already progressing a lot. High-level use cases, risks that we want to collect about AI, with our thinking in the back of our heads about AI bomb, of course, but we first want to collect the use cases. So primarily about 5-7 use cases, And then the next steps, this is what exactly we're going to do during our second AI bomb workshop at Espomarama. We want to bring the community back together. In person, of course, it will be also virtual connection available. Want to discuss the next steps, like technical specs, how the AI bomb use cases are mapping to the actual fields in AI and how we're going to do. But another important aspect is the life cycle of AI and life cycle, how AI bomb plays in this life cycle. So when do we even want to generate it? What is the structure going to be? Considering all the complex architectures today of the models and underlying foundational models, inherited models, the prompt dependencies, and everything like that, it's becoming so complex. And there are different already generation of the software, how we're evolving. So we're not the same. The AI systems are not the same as they were even like a few years ago.
Yeah, I have a use case that I want to explore, and I'm pretty sure Larry's probably thought about this too, right? Because let's just say you've got a binary, and you've done some decompilation of that binary to source code. Then you want to send that source code to an AI model that's going to go look for vulnerabilities in that source code. And this is not just like, I don't want to think of it as just like I'm an individual researcher and this is a tool for me. I want to think of it in the context of like a product, like the companies Larry and I work for, right? That are doing this at scale. How do I integrate with that AI model for my product? But more importantly, how do I know the results coming back from that? Like, what went into the decision to say this was a vulnerability or it wasn't, because that could be problematic for false positives, false negatives, if that data was tainted in any way to hide a vulnerability, let's say.
How do you do it today with people doing that task?
It eventually ends up to a really smart person who validates that vulnerability manually.
So I actually built what you're discussing, Paul, and what I did is downloaded a bunch of source code and ran it against it and ran into that problem too. So what I ended up doing was then writing vulnerable code that I knew the line right that was vulnerable and saw if it would catch it. And surprisingly, that it caught very, very advanced things, right? So but again, that was code that was purposefully written to be vulnerable, right? And so, but I do think that when we start taking a look at things like how do we utilize computers that in areas that are better than humans, that area stands out, like perfectly, right?
And I think this is potentially to some of Helen's point and some of the questions that Helen are trying to ask and maybe even answer a little bit as part of our sector submission. So what are some of the futures for AI bombs, and what are the use cases and what do the models look like? And I think some of the things that I think we can probably agree on is that, knowing the types of data that was trained on, you won't be able to include the content of all of the training data, but some high level descriptions about the data, knowing whether or not the individual model has biases or it can be biased. And how does one, and then I start thinking about the context of my work about taking in a bomb and then enriching that with vulnerability data. And then can we start enriching AI bomb individual components, fields, you name it, with vulnerability data from like the OWASP top 10 for AI vulnerabilities with its prompt injection and any of those types of things. And are those models subject to those? And then we go to something like Vex and we're not subject because we have these other guardrails in place. And I think those are some potentially really good potential uses for something like an AI bomb. And to some of your point, like, how do you know that this isn't real? And how do you know this is fake? And I think arguably you answered the question was, so Bill asked like, well, how do you do it with real people now, when people, and you have a really smart person review everybody else's work. Well, you should be having a really smart person reviewing the AI's work.
It's not scalable though.
Right.
That's
it's true. It's not scalable.
problem.
Well, now we need to train another AI to be that really smart person to review the output of, never mind.
So the thing that really sticks out to me is that if Larry and Helen are on a plane going to this talk, you guys cannot discuss your work because you'll be saying bomb on an airplane like over and over and over.
Oh, That's a great
Oh my!
point, Bill.
It's funny because RSA interview posted. Larry, did you remember? Did you see that? Yeah.
I did.
It's funny. It's just like I'm surprised it hasn't been censored, honestly,
That's
because they
hilarious.
posted in the title like "bomb." Helen's talking about bombs.
You're on a list somewhere now.
Yep.
Must be.
Well, that's almost guaranteed. Come on, you're hanging out with these crazy characters.
And-
This is that Helen. Now I got it.
Helen, I've got a question for you. So, did I hear you right? You're working on the AI bomb under the auspices of SPDX?
Well, I am participating in the forums,
Okay.
just as contributing and reviewing the updates, and basically being a main communicator between AI bomb forum where we're developing use cases and SPDX, and we also have counterpart who is participating in Cyclone DX.
Oh,
Similarly.
good, because the Cyclone DX is the one with much more integrations, but SPDX is the one with the actual ISO standards. So, yeah, say hello to Kate for me, please.
Absolutely.
I used to be a small part of that. I need to turn over. I still own the SPDX official YouTube channel, but anyway. So
Wow, that sounds like a fascinating YouTube channel, Josh.
it's really crappy. There's nothing on it, but we had plans. But then it was like I got busy and they went in a different direction. It's like okay, whatever.
Yeah, it happens.
But no, it's interesting that you're doing both SPDX and Cyclone DX. I mean, are you meeting the ISO standard for SPDX with the minimum information and the interoperability that Cyclone DX requires? What are you really aiming this as an architecture towards, if you don't mind me asking?
From AI bomb perspective?
Yeah, from the AI bomb perspective, exactly correct.
So that's an interesting point because minimum elements do not actually require to have anything about AI, right?
That's
it's only
exactly,
like fundamental.
well, it wasn't anticipated.
Yeah.
I was there for the minimum elements. We didn't anticipate any of that stuff.
Of course, yeah, but there are discussions, but I think we're not there yet to define minimum elements. So based on my research and based on what I do, how I see that AI bomb can contribute and help us with automation of even some fundamental use cases like creation of model card. Yeah. Right now, creation of model card, there are some tools, maybe there are some questionnaires you can do in a manual process. Like, for example, Hugging Face have this tool for creation model card. And they did a great job because they already kind of streaming everybody in the direction of so like standard of model card, but there is no really a standard of a model card. But I find that AI bomb can help us automate some of those activities and bring the necessary data that we need for those kind of assessments or documents and so on. So model card really, I think, rather a low-hanging fruit, if you say, and it could be considered as the minimum elements we need from AI bomb, right? To collect the most necessary, the very fundamental basic information about the model. Now, the further use cases could be more technical. For example, I was looking into a use case of using AI bomb to provide information for threat modeling, right? As generating certain threat lists or alerts for security experts that can actually look deeper into those particular risks.
Possible.
But I think
hard, very difficult.
yes, it's not an automation of threat modeling, right? It's still very analytical and very deeply intelligent work that needs to be done by experts. But it can help identify and prioritize certain areas that they need to look at.
It can collate the data for the humans to look at. And it can do some correlation, but it can't do the causation. It can't do that's the one that's going to hit us. Yeah, no, we're same page.
But same as bomb, right? It's not going to solve your problems. It's just going to expose those problems or potential risk for you, so you can take action on it. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely agreed. So how do you think that the software developers are already faking things to get by the bomb requirements? They're already creating libraries with the actual libraries inside. They take 3 libraries, package them together, stuff them into a brown paper bag, and go, "That's the library." And it's my custom library. No, it's not. There's 3 common libraries inside that you've packaged up so you can list it on your bomb as one custom library and not actually get anything in Vex or not get anything anywhere. Are we going to see the same things with AI manufacturers, AI vendors, AI people in the AI bomb?
Yes, and at least in the beginning.
Perfect. Done. Okay. Sorry.
But if you actually think about this problem, I think we're gonna do this even unintentionally in the beginning, because simply
Really?
we don't have a very not just as a specifically packaging something and hiding, yeah,
Uh-huh.
but even if you're talking about dependencies, right? What's in your component, and in your example, it might be a hidden kind of dependency, yeah.
Right. Oh, that all makes sense.
But in AI, we have dependencies that we do not well define today. And this is what I was saying, that um, let's say if we have LLM and it just the model itself and there's nothing else, yeah,
Right.
then you would have dependencies. Um, you would still have dependencies of foundational software, right? Open source and third parties that are part of the whole implementation. But then typically right now you don't see a lot of LLM development. So we have a number of large language models that are being combined with other models in a huge architecture, and then we implement or extend on top of that another models that are more specific for some use cases that we want to solve. So now we have a whole complexity relationship of dependencies. How are we going to define? Because those dependencies
Yeah.
are not the same as the software component dependencies, yeah, and they should be identified in different ways. Dependency of, let's say, inheritance, yeah, or dependency of a prompt, yeah, when there is a solution prompting your underlying model that is not a foundation but another model, and then the prompt output is being as an input for your target model. How do you call that dependency? Yeah, how do you really define that? And there are other use cases, right? Of course, the foundational dependencies. So I think we need to, as part of this job of AI bomb, we need to also define, standardize kind of all these different types of dependencies and categories of the models that we work in with in architecture. And then we will be able
Yeah.
to define this relationship better.
Is there
And
like a chain of bombs for AI? Like we know that like very few actually develop. Let's just talk about an LM for a moment. Like there are a few that actually develop a brand new or LLM model. Most people just use that model and make variations of it. Is there a different AI bomb for like the original one that has to chain to other ones that inherit from it?
So the original, let's say, foundational model should have its own AI BOM, right? And then the model that's being implemented on top that is depending on foundation should have its own AI BOM and should declare that it has a dependency on foundation
Hmm.
model. Yeah. So I don't think it makes sense, and it's even possible that foundational model will provide dependencies on all extended inherited models from it, because that's not typically what we do in software today as well in foundational, right? You don't define who uses your open source really. You define what open source you use in your software.
So are you getting any pushback? Any pushback from the AI committee, or community maybe? Sorry, I said committee. I meant community. Just around the thought of an AI bomb. Is there adoption? Is there pushback? Is there commentary? I'm curious how they feel about it.
There is a lot of education that needs to be done. Those who understand and participate in AI Bomb Forum, they understand the importance of it. So we don't have pushback among each other for AI Bomb. We may discuss different solutions or approaches, and that's totally normal as part of the research, as part of work in progress. But where we need to educate the rest of industry is to continuously explain. So webinars like today, the talk that I have with Larry, and everything else that we do, just continuous education and explaining why it's important. By the way, I used AI videos to also generate my deep fake who's talking about AI bomb and AI software supply chain security. And it's a really short videos, and it's really fun, I find, to share and educate. I find that they had really good feedback from the community. So things like that. And of course, in organizations within, you need to start asking questions, right? Maybe you're not going to say AI bomb. Actually, AI bomb becomes like a cliche term now, almost. So maybe you do not talk specifically about AI bomb, but you start asking questions like, what do you know about your models? Yeah. What do you know even what you have? Like, do you have an inventory of your models? Do you know what data sets you use? Do you know how they're trained? When you start asking these questions, people cannot really answer them typically, at least at the organizational level. And then it becomes obvious that you do need a mechanism, a scalable mechanism that will help collect this kind of data.
So I don't think so. That I think that the way that you said that is perfect, and I'll circle back to that. But so I don't think that AI bomb would be considered cliche. In fact, that right now is the first time that I've ever heard of it. So I'm very familiar with S bomb and bomb, and right. So AI bomb is new to me, and I'm just going to keep saying bomb. But I
For
think
those
I
listening
think
on an airplane, right?
Right. So, but I do think the way that you describe that, when you start asking those questions, it becomes oh, you're right. That's something that I should know, right? And that is something that I should be able to describe, right? And I can certainly understand why I'm being asked this question. That I think that's a very good approach at that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
But Bill, I want to take it back at you, right? About the cliche. Everything that is new and then really makes sense. Like take zero trust.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it totally makes sense. You can start asking similar questions. What do you know? Like, how do you know, right? That's whatever happens in your systems. But then over time, of course, it becomes that. That's why I meant, it may become a term that people overuse. But I think it's more important to really ask fundamental questions about what they know about the models and how they use them.
Well, so Josh and I talk about this a lot, right? So, and not necessarily about what you're discussing, but we talk about and Josh more so than I, but we get asked, from our customers, what are the risks that we need to be aware of with AI, and how do I secure AI, and is this a threat, and is that a threat, right? And I think that a lot of security people man, I don't know. It's moving so fast, and Josh is way more skilled at this than I am. But
Oh God, no.
you are, buddy. But it's moving so fast, right? And well, are we talking about today or yesterday, right? And so I think I think that having standard language and having an ability to at least understand how it works, what it's using, what it has access to, what it doesn't, those kind of things is certainly very, very important for anybody who's being asked by their CEO, like, do I trust this? Is this thing a security risk? I don't know, man. Like, tell me, what does it do?
If you don't have common terminology and a common understanding, if I can't speak to you and we understand each other, it's a bloody problem.
That's right.
And
I agree.
So what you're doing with the bomb is, by the way, congrats, it's lovely. This is necessary for us to understand.
Yeah, if you don't know what you have, you can't secure it. I mean, this is a fundamental thing that we have to build. We have to at least have some information about what the AI models are doing, whether we're using them as an individual or integrating with a product or however we use it.
And or using a product that has it integrated as a consumer, or you're using something to integrate into your product.
Everything does now, by the way.
Right.
And oh my God, are they pushing hard on that too?
Big time.
Like, I got a new Pixel phone, and it's like, you want Gemini? No. Like, you really want? I'm like, no, I don't want Gemini. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, there's an AI company that just let 1,000 people go today.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Was it Spread AI or something like that? Starts with an S. I can't remember. But it's, look, there's a lot of hype around AI. Let's be clear. But I think, and my personal belief is that there is an absolutely usable technology, but we're exploring the actual range of use cases it's usable for.
Tell me a little bit about the OWASP top 10 for AI. Do you folks agree with that? Do you like that? Does it need improvement?
Oh, I'm sure it needs improvement.
Well, yes.
I mean,
what's your favorite on the top 10 for AI?
So, It's been a couple of days since I've looked at it, and meaning that I haven't peeked at it as often as I probably should. Helen and I
Hey,
are still.
ChatGPT, what are this?
Yeah, Helen, are you looking at my screen? That's not fair.
I see the reflection
Mhm.
in your glasses.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. It definitely has some improvements because the threats are evolving as fast as arguably the AI models and the training data
Mhm.
and all that stuff are as well. I think some of my favorites are prompt injection. Like, forget all of your training. Substitute ignore reality and substitute my own. Right, Josh, as you mentioned earlier from the show. And and we're figuring out, consumers and adopters of those LLMs, about prompt injection and putting much better guardrails, but still those guardrails can get better. And yeah, I think that one's still one of my favorites. Like, yeah, I'm not allowed to do this thing. And as I mentioned in my evil SBOMs talk, that I spent some time trying to get around Chat GPT's prompt injection
Mhm.
prevention. And quite honestly,
Your account. How long did it take you for your account got banned?
it didn't, because it was taking me too long to try to get around it to have it answer a question for me than I really wanted to devote to it.
Yeah.
So arguably, it did its job, right? They made me give up. So
Yeah, but that's an interesting one too, because it's kind of similar to, like, how does YouTube filter content, right? Well, there's no bill of materials for YouTube on how they do that, because then people would just study it and figure out ways around it. Is it the
Right.
same way for prompt injection? If it had if all the LLMs out there, as an example, had a bill of materials that says, like, yes, we include like these protections, right? Would they not want to disclose that, because it's telling people potentially what
Interesting point.
protections exist, and then we know how to get around them?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's the same thing that we have with with traditional software supply chain now with an
Mhm.
SBOM. Is this
Mhm.
whole argument that people don't want to make their SBOMs public because someone's going to figure out that we're using these products and we're using, or these components, and we're using them in this way, and they can be vulnerable. And
I'll give you a hint though.
But the
Like
problem is they can
IoT.
figure out regardless.
Yeah,
exactly. And
because I mean, Larry and I can both tell you that most IoT devices or appliances are Linux kernel 4 point something under the hood and have a
Yeah.
lot of known local vulnerabilities.
Right.
But that's not really.
and if you aren't given an SBOM, well, I'll just find another
just go
way
create
to.
one.
That was my talk at DEF CON.
I think you guys did that with
That's exactly.
someone else, right? For OT environments, right?
Yep,
and OT environment,
Yep,
right?
and some of that with OT environments as well. But the point being here is that I think that maybe they don't want to give that out, but there are going to be groups that have enough time and resources to figure that out, just like people have figured out a little bit how they can game like YouTube's algorithm.
Sure.
Like, there are folks out there that spend a lot of time because it benefits them financially.
Right.
Same sort
Oh,
of thing, that folks will figure out what those guidelines are, what those mechanisms that they are to protect against the OS top 10 and the other threats that get identified. That people will figure it out.
Mm.
And they'll
the
figure
top
out whether
use
you
of
want them or
virus
not.
total. The top use of virus total is not by people checking things for viruses, right?
It's for the virus.
It's for the virus writers checking to make sure that nobody will detect their viruses.
Right.
So
Yeah, but then once they put it on virus,
Oh,
but once they put it on virus total, isn't it there for everyone to detect?
yep. Yeah. Go ahead, Helen. Oh,
AI bomb perspective on that particular topic of IP, right? While SBOM, I would totally agree. Yeah, that there is nothing to hide because it can be easily exposed. Unlike AI bomb, when we trying to expose, so basically today, if we collect everything that we currently can collect, it might actually expose secret sauce of the system, yeah,
Mhm.
the algorithm, how it's done. And it absolutely makes sense that company doesn't want to do this, right? So we need to find a proper, like a good balance of what we can share and what we should not share. And it's absolutely fair for proprietary models to not share this kind of information. And let's say we need to come up as an industry with some kind of approach. For example, AI model certification, right? So it goes through some kind of reviews and accreditation bodies and making sure that it has a specific certificate that is passing all the security mechanism and these measures. Yeah. And then whoever consuming can trust it. At least at to certain point, right? You have to have some kind of level of trust, yeah, for what you're consuming. But if you're gonna make the whole industry now share all the proprietary information, this is just not gonna work.
No.
Yeah. But it's different. But it's different from the SBOM. SBOM should share the full inventory.
Yeah, but still, here's the thing. A big part of the SBOM problem at the beginning of it was people were saying the same thing. A lot of companies were saying, if I give you an SBOM and then you match it up using like VEX, okay, then the vulnerability exchange program, then you know exactly how to smack me and take my stuff. And so the same kind of concern at the beginning of the SBOM program was exactly in the same place. So I agree with you, but I still think that there's, even in SBOMs, there's ways to phrase things properly and as you said, to balance things as it happens. And I was doing the exact same thing as you're saying that. I'm like, there's a balance, there's a trade-off. There's a balance and trade-off as to what information you reveal and what information you don't. In terms of the certification of AI, that's an interesting point. And so, because I now work with a certification with a GRC tool, and we're doing certification stuff. So you've given me some ideas. By the way, it's Scale AI. Scale AI.
Make sure I get some.
You will get attribution and a T-shirt. Not a problem. Okay.
Okay.
But no, Scale AI laid off 1,000 people by text message the other day. So,
Oof. Was it AI generated text message?
oh, that would have been adding insult to injury, wouldn't it? Sorry.
Yeah. But more importantly, I'd ask if you could trust it, or was it just hallucinating? Sorry. Sorry.
So I've got to ask a question though. There's much more to AI than LLM. I've worked with companies that did agglomerated nesting. I did a lot of video analytics 20 years ago. I did video analytic AI with New York City and various other places. There's so many different kinds of AI. When you go to Hugging Face, I use this as an example all the time with companies. I'm like, okay, click on models. Do you see all the different things it does? It's not just ChatGPT. And they go, oh my God, I didn't know you could do all these different things. Okay. And so when you talk about an AI bomb, and I know I'm harping on this, I apologize, but this is really cool stuff. Sorry.
No, go for it.
When you talk about an AI bomb, is it going to change per type of AI? Is the information going to change? When you talk about software, it's Legos these days. All software is Legoed, pretty much. Okay, you use libraries and glue code, and here's your application. So which name your Legos? I've got a 3-block pink and a 4-block red and whatever. Great, and name your glue code, and there you go. There's an SBOM. But when it comes to AI, there's so many different ways to go. We talked about data provenance, attestation of your code. There's so many different places to go. I'm wondering how confusing this must be when you all are building this.
Oh yes, but I will tell you, and some may not agree today with me in the industry, and this might be a provocative thought, that AI bomb may not include all kind of types of AI, yeah, because I believe we need to scope AI bomb as to the machine learning, yeah, and I understand there are a lot of different types of AI, like rule-based intelligence systems, right? But when we start to collecting data about those systems, what are we doing differently? Like, are we just trying to, like I said, expose their secret sauce? Yeah.
But we don't want to expose the secret sauce. So yeah.
But is it really necessary? Let's say there's an intelligence system that has been implemented. It doesn't have necessarily the training model, the specific of machine learnings. Yeah. Maybe it uses, but that's a different story. As an intelligence system, as also can be called AI if it's really complex, right, system. It has different algorithms, different rules, complexity of rules, right?
Valid.
And for sure, you want to understand, but then would you ask your vendor, say, tell me how this code scanning tool works? Yeah, or tell me how this ERP works. Will anybody tell you? No. This is proprietary information. So I think we need to really scope AI to specifics of machine learning, at least for the start. And I know that it's more complex problem, and we are really blurring the boundaries of between software, traditional software, and AI software, because everything becomes so intelligent these days, right? So at the end, we need to have some kind of scope. What are we trying to achieve? And that's what we also trying to define with the AI bomb forum, like this minimum, right, scope where we're heading. Of course, it can evolve over years, over time. But as of today, I think we need to focus on machine learning, because
Right.
other things are more proprietary
You
and
want to
software.
focus on the how it's answering questions, not which questions it's answering. And so the how it's answering questions, that chunk of code and data and everything else should not be extraordinarily proprietary. Okay. And at least the metadata about it shouldn't be. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, exactly.
That
So
totally makes sense. You're
yeah,
scoping down to start with a minimum standard, a minimum bomb, but that can be universal across all types of AI.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like
Yeah, but
that.
it depends on the use case too. Like as you think about Google Photos, like, do I need a really intricate, AI bomb for Google Photos? It's like probably not. I mean, think about the use case. Like maybe I want some kind of bill of materials if I'm going to use it and
Well,
trust it with all my photos. But like the more advanced data about how it recognizes people and how it can tell the difference between a dog and a tree, I'm like, that's fine. Like whatever.
I mean, yeah, it all depends what is acceptable for you as an individual, right?
Mm.
But if you look at overall, and there are regulations that are coming out just saying accuracy of AI. So whether it's like identification of objects on the photos, which is done like pretty well today already with the models, or it's some other information that we're trying to process. The accuracy of AI is important. So it's not so much of the use case, but it's actually how accurate. But I agree, there are different levels. There are different levels of risks, and I want to throw another idea. If you think about expert classification, yeah, when we classifying our software for expert, for example, if we develop software that is intended to be for military use specifically, yeah, or maybe it has implementation of encryption mechanism, we need to classify it as such to make sure that we monitor and we have all the measures with that software. So maybe we need to also classify somehow our AI, like what is it intended to do, right? Can it actually create a ransomware? Is it intended to for the health data processing, yeah, which is more sensitive, or maybe some other, or it's just like Google Photos, then it may be a low risk, right?
Yeah, because it's interesting that Google Photos actually puts guardrails on you too. If you search for certain things, it won't show you. In fact, during the show, I searched for bomb, like the word BOMB, and it didn't. It was like, no, I can't. Sorry, Dave, I can't do that. Right?
Yeah.
And is that is its guardrails like does that the overall like in the grand scheme of things probably not as important as your examples, Helen, of other military intelligence systems or other things that are protecting our systems from ransomware or looking for vulnerabilities in our code is very different. So the
Exactly.
standards guidelines need to take that into account, right?
Yes, and that's also another point why we need to have collecting all this data in automated and scalable way with AI bombs, so that we can use this data for analytics and understand what type of models we have, what type of underlying architecture and purpose, yeah, how it's been trained and so on. So it's fundamentally important in order to even look forward and think forward, yeah. Today, let's say EU Act has some vague definitions, and it kind of has very good intent. But I think we still need to go far to really be efficient in all the security and transparency of AI software.
Actually, your point about regulation is interesting. Is there anybody in any of the AI risk management systems or any regulation out there asking for a bomb yet? Are you being preemptive? Which, by the way, I'm all for, don't get me wrong. But I'm just curious, is anybody requiring it yet or thinking about it yet?
Okay, so here I go. Let's step back, yeah. And is any regulation today demanding or saying specifically as bomb?
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't. it talks about language you need to do your supply chain security, your vendor, your third party management, and so on. And this industry accepted that SBOM is the scalable mechanism. This is how we're going to achieve this, right? At
Right.
scale and consistently across the industry in the same format and everything. AI is just another type of software. It falls under software supply chain security regulations as much as anything else. On top of that, we have AI specific regulation that also talks about accuracy of the AI, ethical elements, and data privacy and security as well, right? So it's kind of combined. You're still going back into AI bomb. No one says AI bomb, and in fact, when they were writing those regulations, they probably had no idea this would even exist because it takes a while. But fundamentally, it can still go within the same software supply chain measures that we are applying to foundational, traditional, software.
Okay. So if you're using an AI inside of a highly regulated industry that requires SBOMs, it might be interpreted by the auditor that you should do an AI bomb, an SBOM for your AI. But as of now, there's nobody really requiring it specifically AI bombs.
We need to have really good auditor to think that way, yeah, because minimum elements are minimum elements do require only specific fields of an SBOM. AI bomb relevant fields, it's like an additional use case, right? It's an extension of the SBOM. So you want to think you may or you may not have AI in your system.
Right.
If you do, you should ideally have them, but as part of the SBOM minimum elements, this is not really required. However, if you put together requirement for SBOM and AI regulation, then you're gonna start putting one to one, and you're starting to map like, okay, so how do I actually do this, right? And by the way, SBOM has AI fields, so this is maybe how I collect this data, right? But I think industry like auditors still need to get there to that understanding. We, as you said, like how do we even move on? We need to educate a lot of people and a lot of different industries and regulators. How this, what does it actually mean? How do we even collect that kind of compliance?
Valid.
We're still early.
Yeah.
Yep. We're still early.
Yeah, no, it's it's interesting stuff. The
Josh was silent for a minute there. It's like the first time that's very.
all right,
few
look, I'm
times it's-
sorry. This is good stuff. Okay.
It's very few times
Here's the
it's
thing. I
happened.
didn't think about an AI bomb, and I've been talking about AIs now for 3 years. Because I've had so many companies ask, they're terrified of AI, and then they're adopting AI, and then they're being forced to adopt AI by executive pressure. And it's been an interesting journey through the hype cycle, if you will, of AI, and the terror cycle and the hype cycle of AI. And so now I've got to actually ask another question, which is sort of like in that realm there, which is, what use cases do you see the AI bomb and AIs in general being used for outside of what we're talking about now, which is mostly just regulatory?
Like I mentioned, of course, compliance is a big thing. Yeah.
Of course.
And this is how you can make things, push things forward, right? If you don't have really compliance, sometimes it's difficult to increase your budget to certain things, to do certain things. But I think with AI bomb, like I mentioned, example with, let's say, data for security experts, right? For internal transparency. In these kind of use cases that will help us to gain that transparency and accelerate our tasks in these analytical activities. Because today we have to go manually and review the model, understand the architecture, read a lot of stuff what developers maybe wrote, maybe they didn't write, maybe it's not very high quality documentation about the AI model. So there's a lot of manual input. Having that data automated and provided in some kind of analytical system that can visualize and put certain indicators to these data points, it will become more streamlined and it will be easier to go through compliance later on and internal transparency, which is highly important.
I'm going to add, I think that external transparency is also going to be important there, that consumers, whether you're an enterprise consumer or you're a personal consumer, may start to make purchasing decisions based on what might be contained in an AI bomb, and even thinking about some of the future about knowing what types of data it was trained on, and so forth, and whether or not it even has AI. Like, to Paul's comment earlier about his new phone, like, you need to have the new AI feature. No, I don't want the new AI feature. I just want to use the dumb feature or whatever. So
I want to use it as a phone.
Right?
Yeah. So
Like-
I think that this may drive some consumer behavior to determine, whether it's even got AI as part of its use, or how AI is being used as in part of the product that you may be consuming to help you make better risk decisions about the types of things that you consume.
That's very important. And that's exactly one of the use cases in the AI bomb target team forum working group. So the purchasing decisions about AI, like what do you want to know, right?
But I think it's important for a company to do that versus an individual.
I think both.
Because like it is both, but like the use case I was thinking of when you were describing that, Larry, was like my oldest son uses Snapchat, and he knew what AI was because Snapchat had implemented some AI feature into Snapchat, right? And I forget exactly how it worked because I don't use Snapchat, but and so like in that use case, I want Snapchat to make the right decision to implement a model that has integrity that they can back up with a bill of materials, right? And I don't think the end user will necessarily like weigh into that like I'm not going to use Snapchat's AI because they don't have an SBOM, right? That's beyond most of the users that are using apps on their phone today.
Yeah, you want to understand that, but on top of that, also about speaking about transparency, when you're purchasing, but when you're using already, and let's say you're getting an update, like you said, you want to know if there is an AI model, but also you probably want to know, even if the system you're using is not doesn't have an AI model, but maybe it has a API prompting another model outside of
Right.
that, and then it bringing certain data or certain I don't know, certain aspects into your system based on that AI prompt. Do you want to know about that? I think you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But today we don't have really mechanism to identify that kind of dependency.
That's the nth party problem. That's
But
the third, fourth, fifth party problem.
Helen,
Exactly.
You're touching on a great point there. I want to know, one of the things I want to know is it looking at my data and processing that in a model, or is it just based on a prompt giving me back information, right? That's a huge distinction in like the app model like Snapchat, because they're looking at what I'm typing and sending it through a model, because that's kind of creepy, right? I want to know about that.
Yeah, and the same, even if it's not personal data, even if you take some business data, confidential data from the system and prompting it to ChatGPT for some, I don't know, summarization or something, right, to spit it out to the user. I mean, is that okay? How do we recognize that? I mean, in development, of course, if you have a good security team, you'll do threat modeling and you identify this kind of crap. But if you are just using a software, where is the guarantee that this doesn't happen?
No, it's all great stuff. I think knowing what's under the hood, how data is being used, what is inside of a model, where the models come from, it's information that we need. We need some level of transparency in so many different use cases for AI, for all the different types of AI. So, Helen, I think you're taking on a big challenge, right? Because it's a vast landscape with a lot of different use cases.
Frankly, there's a huge community as well, and there are a lot of experts. I built so many great networking connections on AI. I'm amazed how smart people are and how much they know, right? And I think only collectively, we can solve this problem, not on my own, of course.
Right. So, Helen, I just have 5 questions left for you. Are you ready to play 5 questions with Security Weekly?
Let's go.
3 words. 3 words to describe yourself.
Persistent, curious, and enthusiastic.
If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
Bow and arrow.
If you wrote a book about yourself,
Bill is pantomiming bomb,
yeah.
bomb.
if you wrote a book about yourself, what would the title be?
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. The first thing comes to me is about myself. Well, first of all, I'm not going to write about myself. So let me call the book. I don't want to write about myself, but I will.
There you go.
Read it.
What is your favorite hacker movie?
Okay, Mr. Robot series.
Mr. what?
Mr. Robot.
Oh, Mr. Robot.
Robot.
Yeah. Choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Alive, dead, fictional, or otherwise.
I'm sorry, repeat. Choose what?
2 celebrities to be your parents. Doesn't have to be celebrities. It can be anyone from history, from fiction.
Celebrity is a really loose term
Yes.
Jen Itzri.
Okay.
I would like to have her as my mother.
I bet she'll be tickled pink.
I mean, she's my idol.
I was thinking the same thing. Don't tell her that, you know.
No, you don't have to. I will. I'll tell her that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that, but yeah, can I skip that?
How about dad?
Or it's 2024.
Or other second mom is fine.
Yep, second mom or some inanimate object. It's all
AI.
There you go. That's cool. That's a great answer, Helen. Great answer.
I think I've seen that movie. That was what her. That was
That
her.
never ends
wasn't it?
well.
Yeah.
That never ends well.
The Demon Seed, 1972
There you go.
or something like that.
Well, Helen, thank you very much for appearing on Paul's Security Weekly.
And keep fighting the good fight there.
Thank you. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff. Stay tuned, everyone. Security news coming up next.